two arms appear. We are now here in the historic Leipzig town hall, which was built in 16th century. If there is any bad guy in Bach's biography, then it was this guy.
The second church would be the St. Nicholas Church, which is where we are now. Bach departed Köthen for Leipzig when he became the Thomaskantor in 1723. The position as the music director of the famous St. Thomas Boys Choir is extremely busy and challenging, especially during Bach's time. In addition to providing music for the 4 Lutheran churches in the city, Bach was responsible to teach general subjects and music at the St. Thomas School and provide music for all the city's official occasions. So we know that in addition to the St. Thomas Church, Bach also had to provide music for 3 other churches, and the second church would be the St. Nicholas Church, which is where we are now.
Bach was in charge for the 4 Leipzig churches, but his own work was mainly concentrated on the 2 main churches, which was St. Thomas, so at the western end of the city, and St. Nicholas at the eastern end. And the one Sunday he performed his cantata with the best 16 boys of the St. Thomas choir in St. Nicholas Church, other Sunday at St. Thomas. So David, we are now here in the historic Leipzig town hall, which was built in 16th century, and we are now going into the room where the ordinary meetings of the Leipzig town council took place. It's this room here. So much of the furniture is still 17th, 18th century. And look, that's the desk where the town council was sitting, negotiating all the important things for the city. And here on the table there's a very famous sheet of paper, strongly related to J.S. Bach, because it was right here when in 1723 Bach was invited to the meeting of the town council to sign his contract as Thomaskantor. This is the last page, signed by him with his seal, and he had to swear that he has to deal with the boys of the choir and the school properly, that he don't punish them too much. That's actually written. Another thing which was said in the contract is that he has to ask the mayor himself if he want to travel away. And for me, the most surprising thing is that all these things related to his music, to his job as a composer, are not really relevant here in the contract.
Today, we see that the Thomaskantor would always be standing in front of the choir and orchestra, conducting from the podium. But according to some of the documents written at the time, Bach was much busier than simply waving his arms during the performances.
His way of conducting was very different from what we connect with the term conducting. So he was more like the inspector of the performance and the guy who is hearing all the SOS signals, helping immediately. Even when you were sitting playing the harpsichord, it could be that suddenly 2 arms appear. That these were Bach arms, playing much more than what was written in the score. So
we know that Bach was definitely a great improviser, and a lot of ornaments, a lot of things added to the score that is not on the score.
Yes. Here we have the famous quotation by Gessner I mentioned earlier about Bach as the leader of a music performance. I like very much in this description how Bach is described as a conductor of church music, feeling the rhythm in any of his bones, moving the head, the finger, stomping the feet, helping everybody with his voice. In Bach's time, and especially Bach himself, didn't have that much time for doing rehearsal.
Well, because he has a new cantata every week.
In his first 4 years, almost every Sunday a new cantata, and he had to compose the piece, they had to copy the piece, and then there was not that much time for doing rehearsal. They had to find a way to come through with the entire piece in the service, and it makes sense to have a guy like him, being everywhere, taking care for everything, and making sure that they will start and end at the same time.
The time Bach spent in Leipzig can easily be considered as the highest point of his career. However, from many letters and accounts, we learn that Bach was not always very happy with how things turned out. Indeed, he did not get along with some of the city council members and has made multiple complaints regarding his employment.
If there is any bad guy in Bach's biography, then it was this guy. This is Christian Ludwig Stieglitz, so one member of the Leipzig Town Council, later an important Leipzig mayor. And he was the guy who changed the rules in 1729 concerning the musical entrance exam of all the boys of St. Thomas.
That's the
choir.
one where Bach no longer have the authority to choose the students that he wants.
Yeah, totally right. And he didn't have any sense for music. He was constantly complaining about Bach in the town council meetings, coming up with sentences like, "This conductor doesn't do anything. He is horrible."
We have to say that Bach was not the best employee in the world. I think he would also today have difficulties. He was sometimes stubborn.
He was an artist.
He was an artist and he was very proud on his rights. We have to see both sides. Bach did not everything right, and have a look on Telemann, he was more smooth. Or if you think on Mendelssohn, who was always in best terms to the Leipzig Town Council, was a personal friend of every of these people. Bach had a share in his problems here.
The demands from a 21st century Thomaskantor is just as challenging, if not more so than the time of Bach. German-based baritone singer and conductor Gotthold Schwarz is the 17th successor of Johann Sebastian Bach. He was once a member of the St. Thomas Boys Choir and has been serving as the Thomaskantor since 2015.
Naja, das beginnt mit Vorbereitungen, Programme bauen, Noten zusammensuchen mit Hilfe der Präfekten, die großen. Dann gibt es auch mal ungeliebte Sitzungen oder Sitzungen, wo man denkt, also ich müsste mich eigentlich lieber mit der Musik beschäftigen. Und dann ist eigentlich die ganze Woche bestimmt von dem Programm, was am Ende der Woche aufgeführt wird, beziehungsweise auch Musik vorzubereiten, die auf einer Reise oder einem Konzert außerhalb gesungen werden soll. Die ganze Weise mit den Knaben, mit den Schülern zu arbeiten und in allen Bereichen, menschlich, musikalisch, ist natürlich, diese Begegnungen sind ständig. Und so wird es auch damals gewesen sein. Er wird genau die gleichen Sorgen auch gehabt haben, wenn Leute wie heute ausfallen oder wenn schwere Dinge anstehen, das in einer guten Weise zu proben und dann auch zur Aufführung zu bringen. Ja, es ist einfach wunderbar, dass man hier in dieser Stadt und mit diesem Chor und an dieser Stelle wunderbare Musik machen darf. Zugleich ist es auch eine ganz große Verpflichtung, dem Anspruch gerecht zu werden und immer wieder auch Knaben zu finden, junge Männer zu finden, die das gerne tun.
In the next episode, we will take a look at Bach's cantatas and learn about how they were being performed by examining some manuscripts. If you have not done so, please be sure to subscribe to Bachfest Malaysia's YouTube channel and Facebook page so that you won't be missing out on the next episode. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again next time on Encountering Bach.